On today's podcast, The Signals, we have Shannon McCarty from Calbright College in California. Dr. McCarty, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you. I'm super excited to be here.
Okay, so you are the Vice Provost of Learning and Instruction at Calbright College in California. Is that right?
Correct. Yes, that is correct.
Okay, and tell me a little bit about Calbright College.
Sure, absolutely. So Calbright College is actually the 116th community college in the state of California. And we were actually founded and developed an idea of really serving those that have been traditionally left out of higher education. And just within the state of California alone, there are about 6.5 million adults that may or may not have finished high school and may or may not have any college credits. And so it's really the idea of serving the adult learner, the very non-traditional adult learner, and thinking about what they need. So we are a competency-based education college. And so we really ensure that whatever we are doing is based on skills that students need to be successful in jobs. So currently we offer very short-term non-credit certificates. And the goal is to get learners into our programs, out of our programs, and onto their next job opportunity. So we're flexibly paced, so no due dates. And we happen to be free for anybody living in the state of California currently. So an exciting place. Yeah.
I'm sorry, I got to ask, completely free. You could end up with a degree from Calbright College if you're from California.
Yes. Well, you can earn a short-term certificate if you live in the state of California. Correct.
Wow, that's incredible. What a huge thing to offer. And I think I read on the website that also includes like their coaching and like the career counseling and things like that you offer as well, right?
Correct. Yes. We have career services, we have academic counselors, we have student support, tutoring, and then obviously our faculty are all kind of core to helping support students.
That's awesome. And when you say you're the 116th community college, that means you're you're recently founded then, or more recently than the 115 before you. Is that right?
Correct. Yes. We were founded in 2018. So we are very new. So we are in the 6th year of our 7-year startup period.
And how many students do you have?
Yeah, so we actually topped about 7,700 students last time I checked. So very exciting. And when I started 3 years ago, I think we were just over 1,500. So we've had a lot of growth in the last 3 years.
And most of them are adult learners?
Oh, yes. So we try to do a very specific, so we're like 25 plus.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, every once in a while someone slips in, but we really do try to do it's the non-traditional learners. So definitely adult learners.
That's so interesting. I was talking with someone from the Houston Community College, and he was telling me that 11.5% of adults over 25 in Houston don't have a high school degree.
Right.
Which is huge. It's a huge number. And he was also saying to me that he calls them the unserved, not underserved, which is like the word that's been used in the past, that like we have not found a way at all to help them in higher education.
Right.
And I think that sounds like a similar population for you.
Yes, 100%. And I think our students, when they come to us, a lot of it is because of the flexible pacing and just the ability and access, right? We are fully online and asynchronous. So that also really helps the adult learner that, they're juggling so many different things in life. The last thing they need to do is feel to be forced into a community college or any college where there's seat time expectations that they have to be somewhere at a certain time for a certain given amount of time.
Okay, I kind of want to dial into that though, because I think on the website it says take only the classes you need on your timeline. And the way that you're describing this, it sounds like a managerial nightmare of who is where, who's got what, how does that all work?
Yeah, that's an interesting way to see it. So we actually start every Monday. So our students can jump into a program anytime they want. We do ask them kind of upfront questions about the time that they have to invest in the program. And then we'll create a pacing chart for the student. So trying to say if I only have 5 hours a week that I can dedicate to this, okay, then you'd probably finish this program in 6 months, let's say. And we'll put them on this pacing schedule. And then really, truly, it's a very personalized experience for the student. So instructors are there, they're supporting students. Students are all different paces, different places. And they're just, they're there to provide workshops, support, outreach, answer questions. And then we have a lot of other additional services. Like I mentioned, student support. So if a student does get off their kind of prescribed pace. We'll give them a nudge here and there. We'll encourage them to meet with academic counselors. We even have wellness as well as like mind and wellness opportunities for students that are like getting overstressed or just need to connect with like a therapist. So those are all options that are provided at the college as well. So it's a really robust, but it's very personalized for the student experience.
And are they persistent? Like to me, I think of like college of like the community mattered so much to me. I needed so much help. I had study hall hours and things like that. Are they persisting in getting those degrees? Like, do you know at what rate people are getting the certifications they're seeking?
Yes. So we are trailing about a little over like 25% across many of our programs where students are completing.
Okay.
So we are trying to improve that. But I would say that they persist. The interesting part is their persistence rate is very high. They will stay with us for quite a while and they'll do, what they can at the pace that they can do it. So what we're trying to do is encourage them to complete a little faster and get those certifications at the end. But we've been building, like looking at learning communities. So students do kind of all start a certain Monday or when a few weeks together. We'll bring them together if they're in the same program and work through either like, it could be like an academic assignment or just talking through or preparing them for building a resume or any of those things. So we're trying to do a little bit of options as well because belonging, to your point, is extremely important and we want to make them feel like they belong. Yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing. It sounds to me like your theory of action since 2018 has been if we go and find these learners who have been left behind or unserved or whatever the word is, and they're adults, and we give them opportunity and let them have the flexibility their life requires, as we all know their life requires,
Right.
we can get them there. And now that you're in it, with 25% persistent success rate, uh, you're also experimenting of like what's actually going to make this work, right? Like you're kind of on the frontier of how to serve this population, and so there's some experimentation happening as well. Does that sound about right?
Yes, absolutely. And, we've been really thoughtful about leveraging like human-centered design. So we talk to our students and really ask them, what are you looking for? What do you need? If we do like a learning community, we'll survey the students, we'll talk to the students. Recently, one of the things we did was around work-based learning. And so we did some really very thoughtful focus groups and we asked students, what kind of work experience are you looking for? And it was really fascinating because I think traditionally we all think like an internship or apprenticeship and that's the work experience. They were like, we want anything. Like we'll volunteer,
Oh,
we'll do some like lab experience simulations, like whatever we can get so that we can get that experience that will prepare us for that job. So we've been really thoughtful about trying to integrate more work-based experiences for students and making sure that any of like their assignments or assessments are like project-based. So really focused on demonstration of skills. And their goal is to get that next job and or a job. So really thoughtful about what we can do for them.
yeah, that makes a lot of sense. It's interesting. I was listening to Frances Fry has a podcast that's, she's a Harvard business professor, and she's talking about getting back into the workforce. And the one that I was listening to recently, she had left the workforce because of some health needs for a few years and then trying to come back into it and kind of said the same thing. She sent an email out to like some of her friends was like, I don't really care what I do. I just don't know how to work anymore and like need you to like help me see that I have value again. And that
Wow.
was what so I think that some of what your learners are saying as well, probably is that it's not even like, yes, I want something on my resume, I want to tick the box, but also like I need to be convinced myself that I have value to add to an organization as I get this certification. Does that sound right?
Yes, no, I would say that's 100% on. And I think that's what we really learned when we did the focus group with students as well, is they really wanted to understand how did they talk about those skills. As we mentioned, we're serving adult learners, so they have real life experience, but they don't always see how that translates to like that next job opportunity or even translates to talk about the skills that they have and how prepared they are. And so it's really a lot of it is building their confidence to say like, you have these skills, you're demonstrating these skills. We're going to help you build a resume. We're going to help you build a portfolio to show that you have these skills. And then even spending time with them to help them talk through it. Because a lot of it is that effective communication of, this is what I can do. This is how I can show you. This is what I've been successful doing. So really trying to think about not only just, the skills that they have, but then the opportunities and in areas that they can really thrive once they get to the career.
Yeah, I totally hear you. We were partnered with Merit America over here at Chiron, and they use Chiron in their courses, and it's a live avatar that speaks with students. And the number one thing we hear from the Merit America learners is that they think they're going to get a job faster, not necessarily because of the skills. Yes, they got the skills, but also because they've been talking with an avatar out loud that they think they can interview for the first time ever. And I think that's also super underestimated and undervalued in this like career workforce space of just how hard it is to go to interviews, especially if everything you've done has been online. And now all of a sudden you have an in-person interview to become an HR manager or whatever it is. It's not
Right.
it's not an easy road. How long have you been at Calbright?
This is my third year. So I've been at Calbright for 3 years.
Okay. And you've changed roles a couple of times.
Yes. I mean, over my career, yes, I've changed roles.
But even at Calbright, like when you were leading the online strategy, you're the head of learning and
Well, I've been the
instruction right
vice
now.
president for learning and instruction for those 3 years. So Calbright, I have not changed any roles.
But all of those things have fallen under you as the VP of learning and instruction.
Correct. Yes.
And when you think of learning and instruction, it's just like basically anything the students are trying to gain information and the ways that they're getting that information all goes through your team.
Yes. And so we get to do we work very closely with our research team, and we do the early analysis of what programs we should be offering. So we're looking at like labor market data and then identifying, where are the next job opportunities. And so that falls under my shop, and we identify subject matter experts, so industry experts. Then we help build the curriculum, do all that fun stuff. And then actually I think the more creative piece of it then is building that. So we take all of that curriculum and then create that online experience for students. So yes, all of that kind of falls under the learning and instruction shop.
You're building your own curriculum as well.
We either will partner with a third-party content provider like CompTIA, or
Okay.
we are looking at open education resources, trying to make it, obviously, like I said, we're free, so wanting to be as affordable for students as possible. But we really do ensure that we are aligning with like national certifications, right? Because we know employers are looking for certain certifications, be it a Google cert or a CompTIA cert. So if we are leveraging or building our own content, we want to make sure that it still gets students prepared for those certifications.
Tell me a little bit about the theory around making it free for all. And do you have students outside of California who are
No,
paying?
not outside of
Okay.
California. Yeah.
So right now everyone is coming for free for as
Correct.
long as they want.
Yes, currently, yes. But we are going to be having to, move through a model that we are like an apportionment model or a funding model for students.
Well, I wonder too if that'll help your persistence rates, right? Like I think anybody who's taken a, marketing or business class knows that if someone pays nothing for something,
Right.
they're not likely to use it. They're not likely to value it because they didn't have to pay for it. So it might also help with the persistence rates that they have to pay. It's such an interesting, it's like spinning in my head. I lived in Argentina at one point, and I don't know if you know, but in Argentina, the public universities are free for everyone.
Oh,
If
wow. I
you,
did not know
as
that.
long as you finish high school, you can go to college for like, I remember that my Spanish teacher was like getting her 9th degree in PE or something like
Oh my
that.
God.
It was wild.
Wait,
Yes. And it makes it so
what?
their courses are overloaded, but they also have, and they have this a society with it. There's a lot of, I mean, Argentina is an interesting place, but I was curious. I was going to ask you, is it really feasible in the US to have a completely free university? And it sounds like you can get close, but not really.
Yeah, no, I mean, it is very interesting. And I think there's been a lot of, kind of policies out there looking at community college and making them free. But I
Right.
think a lot of it comes back to, first of all, is it like sustainable from a financial standpoint? And then second, like to your point, is that enough of a carrot to bring someone in, then keep them going? Because I do think there is a mindset, associated with, well, I didn't pay for it. I'll try it. If I don't like it, I have nothing to lose. And so, yeah, I don't, and specifically, I think for learners that have had a difficult time in higher education or education in general, and maybe just making sure that there's a little bit of that additional buy-in or extrinsic motivation might be what's needed to keep them in.
It's so interesting. One of the things that I talked to the president of Calbright when I was at a conference in New Orleans just like a month ago, and something she said to me was that most of your growth right now is organic. It's not like marketing. It's not things that you're sending out. Is that true?
Yes, it is very true. It's interesting because we do have like our student body, and the previous student body president, he actually was a stay-at-home dad, and he was transitioning jobs. And he said he was at the playground, and that's, he was talking to one of the moms, and she actually told him about Calbright. And so I think it's from learners that have had a good experience and that have come, and earned some type of certificate and gotten a job. And then they're just sharing that information with others. So yeah, we don't spend a lot of money having to market at the moment. A lot of it has been just very organic growth.
Wow, that's incredible, first of all,
Mhm.
and it's interesting. Gosh, I can't remember which online university it was, but it was one of them was telling me like they do so much marketing that they have 40,000 students every month start an online application just from
Whoa.
like their push out ads and things like that. And so if you're not doing any of that and having all your own organic growth, that's really impressive. What would you say is like the real secret sauce behind Calvert? I mean, you have 7,700 students in 7 years. You're offering certification, 25% I know might feel low to you, but it's actually not that low when it comes to the adult learner space. Success rate, like, what do you think is your secret sauce?
Ooh, I really do think a couple of things. I do think the flexibility is really important. We hear that from students all the time. I think the opportunity for them to start when they're ready. So it's not like they're having to wait a semester or a quarter or any time at all. Like if their mindset is, I want to get started, then they're ready to start. I do think that like kind of that human-centered design, the fact that we have so many support services, we're really focused on creating belonging. We have really caring like faculty and staff members that are really there and dedicated, and we do a lot of nudging and outreach. It's almost like you can't fail. We're going to nudge you to death to make sure that you stay with us. But I also think intentional design. I mean, like I said, we really think about what we are creating in our programs and making sure that they get students work ready. I think that's extremely important. And then, we do a lot of the project-based opportunities. So whatever they are doing is real world. It's not something that's a multiple choice question or anything like that, but it's really going to prepare them for the job. And so they start making those early connections. So I feel like those are kind of like the secret sauce of like the pieces that we put in place. There's still more to learn and still more to do, but I think those are kind of like the early findings of the areas where we're seeing some really good success for our students.
Yeah, that's incredible. And tell me, which certification is the most popular and which one's your favorite?
Oh, so the most popular one is IT support.
Okay.
Interestingly enough. So we have, I think it's over 3,000 students in that program. My favorite one, I might say project management. And I just think it's because there's such a high need, and it seems like there's so many project managers across so many different industries. And, we had just amazing growth in that one. I think we opened it, we had 200 students, and then I blinked and it was like over 1,000 students. But it just really set students up with a great portfolio. So I think we did a really good job of thinking about how do students need to get ready to apply for that job. And so really, really, really just proud of the work that was done behind the scenes and by the instructional designers and our subject matter experts to build something.
Yeah, that's awesome. Okay, so how did you end up at Calbright? I know you've been in California for a while. You've worked at a lot of different
Yeah.
institutions, but how did you end up at Calbright?
Yeah, I actually, I would say that Calbright was my dream job. So I
Oh,
was keeping my eye on Calbright for a while. But I remember when California kind of opened this community college, and I thought, wow, what an impressive just philosophy. And it really had
yeah,
aligned with what I thought learners needed, and kind of I thought the trajectory of higher ed in general. Always wanted to be a part of something that was competency-based education because I see the value in that. And then really that work-based opportunity, the short-term certificates, and really thinking about, do students need to have a 2-year degree or 4-year degree to get a job? And I don't think that we're seeing that. And I don't think the industries require that. So I think for me, it was just something that was really special. And in education, it's very rare that you get to be part of kind of a startup. Most institutions have been around for many years, have all
right.
the policies and practices and bureaucracy that are in place for many, many years. And so just being part of something I thought really special. So I'd been keeping my eye on it. And then when the position opened up, I immediately applied. And I have a lot of online education. I feel like that's all I've spent most of my time in is
Right.
online ed. So I just felt that it was really well aligned with my personal educational philosophy and experiences.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, that's incredible, and it's cool that you have, like, aligned to that. I think one of the things that I asked the Houston Community College guy when I was speaking with him was, uh, like, how do you stay motivated? Because it's not an easy space to be in, right? The craft education, president also said the same thing. She's like, it's kind of like all these really well-intentioned organizations and institutions don't work well together is part of the problem, right? Like, I'm sure part of your funding questions are because, like, the California state, the federal government, and those things aren't all playing nicely together right now, and so that changes your funding, algorithm or whatever. How do you stay excited and enthused in this space?
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, and I started out as an educator, so I always say that that's who I am first and foremost. And so
Right.
I think when I get to see the students that are like leaving the college and moving on to like careers and like give us feedback, that really helps me stay motivated because I do think we're making a difference. And then I would say, my other part is I love to be creative, and I do feel like in the online space, there's so much opportunity to create, reinvent, reimagine how education is provided to students. And then I would would say now, it's even looking like AI. So it's like not the next fancy tool, because I don't believe in just going towards all the shiny objects. But, I do think that there is opportunity to even think about, how do you create more scale, more flexibility, but even from a personalized experience, leveraging AI. So I think just trying to stay up with trends, but also just always coming back to the why, which is helping students.
Do you have a favorite student story from Calibrate?
Oh, from Calbright, a favorite student story. Actually, just recently we had a demo day with HubSpot. So it was our California Workforce Accelerator. So we partnered with GoBiz, with HubSpot, and Nexus Edge. And we had over 100 students that had internship opportunities. And then 3 of those students actually ended up getting job offers with HubSpot. And so there was a demo day, and it was just really fascinating to watch them. They were kind of a very diverse group of experiences that they had, but they really just talked about, how it was just life-changing for them to have the internship and to actually be able to learn like on the job, and then the
Right.
support that they got through that process. And now they have, jobs that they're super proud of and super excited about, and watching their faces, they were like all aglow. So that's probably my most recent and proudest Calbright story.
It's wild to think about that and also think that Calibrate didn't exist 7 years ago, right? Like, we think of these degrees and these life-changing moments with, like, these 100-year-old universities, and to
Yes.
hear, like, kind of this startup,
Yeah.
doing something new in California, that's great. It's super inspiring. So to me, it sounds like funding is your biggest barrier. What would you say is your biggest barrier?
I would say biggest barrier. Ooh. I I think when I look at competency-based education, I do think there are a lot of like policies and practices that are very geared towards like the traditional model, right? So how we think about the credit hour, how we think about the Carnegie units, and then you try to take this competency-based education that is really about what students know, what they can do, and what they can demonstrate, and then you're trying to fit it back into this very round hole that it just does not work. So I always feel like that's the biggest challenge, and that's from like Title IV perspective to even, I would say, some of the kind of the curricular challenges that we face like across our system. So I think to me, it's like, how do we elevate CBE, knowing that it really is, I think, like the next step or transformational opportunity in higher ed, but not continue to make it that it has to fit into 100-year-old policies and practices. So it just, yeah, it's always like you're just hitting like a wall of like, but we shouldn't have to do this. Like, that's not the goal of this. Like, we want to serve students and be as flexible as possible. But yeah, so to me, that's the ongoing challenge. I think any CBE institution would probably say the same thing.
It's so interesting that you say that like we should just leave the universities alone, because what I hear the most is like the universities need to change, right? That higher ed institutions need to start accepting CVE for what it is. That if
Yes.
you have you have skills that should be like leading to your degree or to what you need, that they should start accepting those instead of making you start over. And you're saying, no, actually, we should just use the system that degrees can still be there, but there's an alternative path that doesn't require a degree, and that you can kind of like build this competency-based, I don't know what the word is, menu, agendas, resume that doesn't include a degree, but might end up still like being a nurse or something like that, does require a degree. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, absolutely. Because I think,
Wow.
I think the one thing that we've tried to do in education is create a one-size-fits-all model. And I think that we know, we see it based on the numbers of who's, either making it through higher ed or not making it through higher ed, that does not work. But I never want to have like a one-size-fits-all model, because I just think that it doesn't work. And so the opportunity to think about, there are traditional models for those that's their path. But then there are, other alternative pathways that we need to create and provide and think about, and I think thoughtfully about, and not always try to fit back into what we consider to be higher education and or like that, I would say like an accreditation policy perspective.
Wow. I sound so shocked because I feel like I've heard so much, the universities need to change, the universities need to change. And now like I think you might be one of the first people to say, just leave them alone. Just let them do their thing.
Let them do their
And
thing.
I mean, Kathleen Delasky is kind of arguing that in her like Who Needs College Anyway book, but some of it
Yes.
is still the universities need to change. So it's an interesting concept for sure. Do you think, one of the things that I feel like I heard at JFF and some of the other conferences I've been to is like this LER concept that like we'll have this record of your credentials, of your experiences, of who you are as a learner, as a person, what skills you have, and that should be able to suffice. And then immediately after they said it, the first thing that it was Arizona State was kind of presenting and saying like, we can do this. And the first question was, who decides what credentials are worth anything? Who
Right.
decides what's worth going on your LER? And what do you think about that?
Wow. Yeah, no, that is. And I think that's why LERs haven't taken off. I think we've been talking about them for, I don't even know how long now, over 10
Right.
years, right? When it started in the blockchain and, giving students all of their ownership over their own credentials. I would love to say that the employers would actually take control over those credentials, right? Because then I think it gives kind of a tried and true method of how students are being measured from what they're able to do and the skills that they've acquired. And I mean, ultimately, I think they're taking it to get a job. And so if the end goal is the job, then I feel like that should be part of the framework that helps determine the credentials. But it seems like historically that we don't always do a great job of having industry and education talk to each other and come together on what that looks like. So I think if we were able to at least, really think through what are we trying to do and solve at the end, and then who needs to have those credentials and accept those credentials, then maybe that would help like bridge that path.
Okay, let me ask you something that I don't know if you've thought about before, but I'd like spinning in my head. Do
Okay.
you think that there should be a path for every job that doesn't include a degree? So, like, for
Oh,
example, right now, if you want to be a neurosurgeon, you have to go to med school. But I feel like some of what you're saying with competency-based education is, yes, med school is great and going to undergrad is great, to go to med school, like whatever, you biology degree. But if there's a way for you to get the experiences and skills you need without the degree, you should also be able to become a neurosurgeon that way. Would you say that's true?
oh, wow, that's a big one. Neurosurgeon, huh?
I
You
mean,
gotta go
anything. And is there anything that absolutely needs a degree or could be all competency-based? Is every job possibly competency-based education if we worked hard enough at it?
I think if we worked hard enough at it, absolutely. Yes, why
Really?
wouldn't it? Yeah, and I think the thing that's missed, right, if, as you're going through a competency-based education program, like what you're able to do is assess where you are and then move quicker, right, through your program. But if there are areas where you don't have the skills yet, it doesn't mean that you're not acquiring them or you don't get extra practice or
Right.
additional content, right? You're getting all the learning, but it's like, don't make me sit through, if we're going to go neurosurgeon, don't make me sit through a lecture on basic anatomy if I already know it. Like, let me go to the next level and accelerate to the information that I still need practice on. So yeah, I guess technically it could be any job if it was thoughtfully aligned to competencies. But yes, we'll see about the neurosurgeon. I like it.
What's a certification that Calbright's not currently offering that you can't wait to offer?
Oh, one of a couple of things that are on the kind of horizon for us is like a UX UI certification, and then really looking into like Gen AI for businesses or for business to work. Yeah, so those are the certifications that I'm looking forward to offering, and we'll be hopefully offering those in 2026.
Oh, wow. That's a really quick turnaround. I was expecting you to be like 2029. I mean, I guess that's how you all roll,
Oh
right?
yeah,
Like
fast. We're
that
trying
is
to
incredible.
push.
Um, wow, that is just so great. And I think that's amazing. So tell me a little bit about the other universities you've worked at and how, because your path has been mostly higher ed, correct?
Yes, well, I was a high school chemistry teacher for about 11 years, but then I moved into higher ed. So yes.
Oh, that's right. We do know that you started out with a BA in biology and chemistry and then had to go get more degrees because it wasn't
Yes.
your path to teach biology and chemistry forever.
Like, guess not. Yeah.
But you went the pathway, not the certification way, right? Because the
I
degree way, right? You have like multiple degrees.
Yes.
Interesting. Okay, and so tell me a little bit about your past in other universities and things that you've seen that's happening across California that's really beneficial for students.
Yeah, absolutely. And I actually started my life in Phoenix, Arizona. And so the first place that I started was Rio Salado College. And Rio Salado actually was a great place to work because it was very early into online ed. And I would say they were doing online probably 10 years before most colleges started doing it. And I always find it fascinating because when I was at Rio and we did state articulation with like the ASU and the U of A, and they were so anti-online, like they were
Right.
like, you guys are the demise of higher education. You're ruining higher education. And now look at it, years later. And so, but I think what Rio really taught me is how to think, kind of outside the box and really think about what is possible. And always with the idea of going back to like supporting the learner. So that's kind of where I think I gained a lot of my online skills, really thinking through like CBE, thinking about prior learning credits, how to do really great articulations, but always at the heart of, serving the learner. And then I actually came to National University, and I was there for about 7 years, and had a great opportunity to oversee kind of like their online arm as well and build a digital strategy. And a National University is both online and then the more traditional. And then I took a short-term role as a provost back east. And it was a great institution. It was Bay Path University,
Right.
but realized I wasn't made to live on the East Coast. And so then when like I mentioned before, I saw the position at Calbright and it opened up and I was like, oh, wow, this is where I want to be. But yeah, from going from biology and chemistry to being a full-time biology faculty member and then moving into like a dean and a vice presidency role, I'm not really sure how that path happened, but I'm really glad it did. It just, I think I never said no. So if there was like a project or opportunity, I was like, yeah, sure, sounds great. So I was just really able to like kind of build my portfolio of what I was able to do. And so here I am.
Okay, let me dial into what you said about when you're at Rio, that like everyone was like, oh no, online learning is the end of the world.
Yeah.
Um, is competency-based and skills-based learning like the new online learning where everyone's like, no, you're going to ruin higher ed? Or do you think it's a different time now that we're kind of like more open to alternative paths?
I don't know if we're open to alternative paths quite yet, but I think people embrace CBE because, online kind of education did a lot of that hard work, embracing, I would say, like exploding access and thinking that, yes, we can learn virtually and asynchronously. But I do think, CBE is a little bit more accepted because we're talking about aligning it back to skills and job opportunities. But I do think there is pushback related to CBE from like the more traditional R1 institutions, right, that have, their tried and true processes in place. But this is why I think, in some ways that you leave the larger institutions alone. It's the same thing with online. Like
Right.
we didn't need them to believe in us to have student success. And now I think with CBE, it's very similar. And so what will happen as CBE continues to grow and has success, then the other institutions will get on board and start moving in this direction. So I think that, yeah, I hope that CBE is kind of blazing that next trail because I do think right now we need to be more relevant than any other time. I think that there's a large question about the ROI of higher ed. And I think if we think about alternatives, but making sure that we get students jobs and making them really thrive in those jobs, I think that's the focus that higher ed really needs to be spending their time and energy on doing.
Yeah, I don't think anyone's going to be jumping on my neurosurgeons don't need degrees bandwagon anytime soon.
I was like, oh, let's go.
But it's part of the question though, right? If we're going to say it's good enough for some, but and at very hard jobs. I mean, we talk about UX UI, that's not an easy thing to do
Right,
or learn, right?
right.
And so I think there's some value to saying like maybe we all learn this way and there's some other things that can be changed as well. But I love that instead of waiting for everyone to change and be the way you want them to be or the way you think they should be, it's like we're going to go and do it in our small cheap way, like as great for learners as it is. And then when we show the value, you can come too. I think that's really powerful and inspirational, and I think it's great. Let me ask you about one more thing about you, and then we'll get to our 5 questions because I know I've kept you. But you said multiple times in that journey that you were online learning was where you started with Rio. You've done online learning here at Calibrate. You've been like someone who's kind of piloted and pioneered some of those strategies. Tell me, like, how are you thinking about online learning now? How are you thinking about AI? Tell me about that.
Yeah, for me, I think I just keep seeing online learning getting better and better. I think we spent a lot of time doing a lot of research to evaluate it, and then that has been informing a lot of really best practices. I do think now is kind of like the next opportunity is looking at more personalized
Right.
online education. So being able to leverage AI at scale to create more efficiencies, but also really like personalize the content and the experience for the student. And that gets me really excited. But yeah, I'm curious to see like what the next direction will be because I think the technology will just enable us to keep making it better and better.
I tell people all the time the reason I work at Chiron is because I got my MBA during COVID. I was also a brand new mom of twins.
Oh gosh.
And so it was online. I was at Northwestern, which is usually an in-person school, but I was online at the time. And I had a statistics course that was really hard. It was hard for everybody. But the professor gave me a TA. She like understood what was happening in my life. And she
Oh
was like,
wow.
you tell him what time you want to do office hours and he will make them for you. Like we'll
Oh my
figure it
gosh.
out. But like there's no way you can also do everything you are do. I was working full time, all of the things. And so he would do my office hours at 10 p.m. And I was so grateful. I was top of the class in statistics because of this guy who had to sit
Oh
online
my
with me at 10
gosh.
o'clock at night to give me help because she like saw what I was going through and trying to
Oh,
do.
I
And
love that.
so, right. And so this
Yes.
opportunity, and like, I know that not everyone can offer that. Not everyone has a professor who can even see them, right?
Right.
But, through AI, there is this opportunity to offer some of that. And I think, we started this conversation talking about your students and these barriers they have. It's the money, it's the time. Like, when can you start? It's funny that you're saying they could start on any Monday. And when you first said it, it didn't click for me. But then when you said they don't have to wait a semester, I bet you that makes a huge difference. I think
Right.
about like the
Yeah.
moment I'm inspired, the moment I'm not.
Yes, exactly. Because you can all
Wow.
have second thoughts, right? And then talk yourself out of something. But it's like, oh, I'm going to sign up today. It's a Thursday. And oh gosh, it's Monday and I got started. There's not enough time to think about it. Just jump in and get going. So,
Right? That's
yeah.
incredible. Well,
Yeah.
that's awesome. And I think that's something that, like all universities could learn, right? Like how far behind is a student really? If they're a week or two behind, could we figure that out?
Yeah.
Um,
It's a good question. I like it.
for all those neurosurgeons who are not going to need degrees anymore.
Neurosurgeons who have a flexible schedule. There you go.
There you go. The flexible schedule for the neurosurgeons without degrees. All right. Thank you so much. Let's get to our 5 questions. It has
Okay.
been fun. So fun to learn about you and Calbright. I'm so glad you agreed to do the podcast because it got me to read about Calbright, and you're small, you're new, and doing so much great experimentation and,
Yes.
really being willing to say like we're different and that's okay. And I really love that. But my question for you, as someone who believes in competency-based learning and has multiple degrees, if today you were to go back and get another degree or certificate, what would it be in?
I would do something probably in generative AI just because I want to nerd out on the tech. Yeah. Definitely.
I think there's a lot of certifications in that right now.
Yeah.
So
I know. I might have
probably
to do
one being built right now too. Okay. What's a lesson in life that you only learn through experience?
that. Ooh, a lesson in life. Um, one of the things I think I always do is try not to take things too personally. And I think it really helps, right? Because I think you learn, and the more that you can just be open to learning and taking feedback and being like, ooh, I needed to pivot. That was a little bit of a mistake, but
Right.
I'm just always trying to do my best. But yeah, try not to take things too personally.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
I think I'm still learning that lesson though. I'll be honest. But I appreciate you saying it. The more you hear it, it's like one of those ones I'm going to hear over and over. Right now, resumes have a lot of signals, mostly degrees. What's a
Yes.
signal that's not currently on resumes that you wish was?
Oh. Um, well, I would actually say durable skills. So I think the ability for students to really be able to communicate what they can say and do, what they can do and demonstrate their knowledge
Right.
would be fantastic on a resume. But I also think like the ability to say like, I'm an effective communicator. I can be a problem solver. I'm, a self-directed, individual. I think that, it's beyond just the individual experiences that people have on resumes, but it's really how did they show up during those experiences that could be, I think, a game changer.
What's your personal mantra?
Ooh, my personal mantra. That's a good one. I would probably say live, laugh, love, which is a little corny, but I feel like life is short and it's to be embraced. And so the more you can laugh and enjoy every day, I think the better prepared you are for life.
Yeah, I get that.
Mm.
And your go-to karaoke song.
My go-to karaoke. Oh goodness. Um, what is the? Oh gosh. You'll have to edit this part. It's like I
No, go
should
for
know
it.
this.
If you want me to like snap with you, I'll help.
Oh gosh, I like what's the name of the song? What it's wow, I can't think of the song now. You
I'm
totally
going to
threw
tell
me
you,
off.
I had Tom Vanderark on recently. I don't know if you know who he is, but he's very into competency-based learning too. And he sat there and was like, I don't do karaoke. And I was like, I'm still going to make you answer the question. And he was like, no, because if I answer, someone's going to try to get me to sing karaoke at some conference. And I was like, and I'm still going to ask for an answer. So I'm still going to ask for an answer. Any song. I hear
All
Sweet
right.
Caroline a lot. Or go ahead. You got one?
Oh, I'll do Material Girl Madonna.
Oh, that's a great answer. I love it. And it's like a sing-along one. I'm so
Yeah,
glad we waited for that, Shannon. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being on the show today. Thanks for talking about Calbright. Thank you for the ways that you're experimenting. I've learned a lot from you. And it's been a really fun conversation.
yeah. Thank you so much, Laura. Really appreciate it.